Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is not S6 Steve. However, that could always change. But I'm actually feeling a lot better today. Joining me is my co-host, always healthy, Dwaylon Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And yes, this is the first time we've recorded on a Monday in 3 weeks.
It is. It is.
Things happen.
Yeah,
And,
life happens. So
life happens. And just glad to be back. And today we're finally going to be discussing the episode we were talking about doing 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
We're going to be talking all about Paul Michael Levesque, also known as Triple H.
Triple H. Yeah.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley. And because of his announcement that he is done with in-ring action, and but I do want to talk about some other things first. Like hopefully talking about him will put me in a little bit of a better mood than my day started out. Woke up, stepped out in my hallway, and I felt something underneath my foot, my bare foot.
Oh,
yes.
Oh.
And I'm like going, and it, and I actually slept in a little bit. For me, this is sleeping in on a weekday. It was about 5:30, and I didn't want to start screaming and wake up everybody else in the house, but I felt like it. So I'm hopping on one foot trying to find something to, we actually have some like the wet wipes, that we use, for wiping stuff down. So I found those. I was able to. Took me a little bit because, of course, it goes in your toes, and it's and I'm ready to just scream and just grab the dog by the scruff of his neck and throw him outside in the rain. But he's a little Jack Russell, and they little dogs with attitudes.
Yeah.
But he has a habit of doing that, and we're like, this dog was supposed to be housebroken when we got him. But we kind of figure out this dog, because he's got some other health issues. Our dog is defective. So, he's got the dog version of alopecia, and I know that's a word that's been in the news lately.
Yeah.
But he's got the canine version of that. And so we have to watch his diet and things like that, because like certain dog foods, I think if it's grain based, he can't eat them.
One of our dogs, our bigger dog, his name's Max. He is like that. He has to, like, we buy pedigree, because if he eats like, say he eats the old Roy from Walmart or whatever.
That's what we were getting before. That was old Roy.
And his hair was falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that, and so he eats pedigree. So now he's good.
And, so I go and I walk past the kitchen to get to the shower. And there's actually a reason I'm talking about the kitchen. Get done my shower, get dressed, whatever. And as I'm getting ready to walk out the door, one of the last things I always do is I grab this cup, or I have like 10 of them, just like it we got from Universal, and I fill it up with whatever. I walk in the kitchen and there is trash all over the floor. Same dog.
He just had a field day while y'all were sleeping.
Well, one probably led to the other. Is because he got in the trash and he ate something
ate something they shouldn't have, and then
just
tore his stomach up.
Yep, and of course, he goes right where we're going to be walking. So he's like, "I want to make sure you found it."
Oh yeah. It's like my belly's upset, so my day's ruined. So I'm gonna make sure your day's ruined too.
Yeah. So that's how my day started out. So but work wasn't bad. Work was just long today.
Yeah.
But it was just. Technically, I'm not going to show it, because I honestly they get weird about showing like the computers. Granted, there's nothing on it right now that would be any kind of proprietary information, but at the same time, but I have my work computer over here right beside me too. So whenever we're done, I got a couple of things I'm finishing up. Using the goal seek in Excel. You ever done that?
I have not. I think Hope has, but I haven't.
Yeah, it's actually. It's actually pretty neat if you can, once you get used to it.
Right.
One of our files actually have a macro set up to where it looks at like 12 different cells and does a goal seek on all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, not this file, but on a totally different file. But in other news, the Lakers are not in the playoffs.
Yes.
we just want to just throw that out there.
Gotta throw that out there.
I think we talked about that last Thursday too, and we just have to.
They fired their coach today.
Saw that.
Yep, they fired their coach. Of course, the coach is going to take the heat for the decisions they let LeBron James make.
Yeah, and that's what it came down to.
Yep.
And what was the thing I read? Was it the owner? Please tell me. I saw that. I think it's the owner's name, and she has like a weird name.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's weird, but I'm just saying the name is very.
So it's very different. Yeah.
It's like a cartoon name.
Mm-hmm.
But she did not fire him earlier in the year because she said you're going to suffer for the decisions that LeBron James made by getting, was it Westbrook?
Getting Westbrook, getting Carmelo Anthony, and then Anthony Davis is, my brother said it best. I talked to him earlier and he said, Anthony Davis has knees like peanut brittle. He said Anthony Davis has knees like peanut brittle. Russell Westbrook was never any good. Carmelo was never any good. And LeBron's just up there in years, and it's like, here's the thing though, that is not an excuse, because
no, it's not.
You cannot come out and say I'm the greatest basketball player in the world and then not step up when your team needs you to step up.
Exactly. And then turn it's their fault.
Yeah, it's all their fault.
Yeah.
But I'd be very surprised if he was in LA next year.
And Carmelo, I think his best year was actually at Syracuse.
Yeah. His best year was in college.
Yeah.
He was definitely a draft bust. I mean, and he went higher than Dwayne Wade did in the draft.
Oh, and in other actual wrestling news, I was not able to go to Chillicothe this past Saturday because my son was sick. He was probably over, the contagious part of it, but he was still kind of feeling good. So, he decided he didn't want to go. And then my nephew was also supposed to go. He and his mom also decided that he wasn't going to go because he had also been sick.
Right.
And so didn't go to Chillicothe. I did go to the NWF event there in Mount Orb, though. I have not missed one yet. Unfortunately, I probably will miss it next month.
Mm-hmm.
They're having a cage match. Tiny Tim and Alex Aiden.
What is it? The Thunder, are they calling it Thunderdome or
no? Thunderdome is actually a totally separate event. That's going to be held in Covington.
Okay.
Now this is just a straight up cage match. Tiny Tim and Alex Aiden, because Alex Aiden keeps taking a walk.
Yeah.
And it's on May 14th, Saturday night. Our anniversary is May 15th.
Yeah, you're not making that show, buddy.
she's already told me, you ain't watching wrestling on our anniversary. I'm like, but it's Tiny Tim Cage. He's our friend. He's gonna be a cage.
Yeah, you're gonna be in a cage if you don't.
Very true.
You mess up that anniversary.
So I will probably unfortunately have to miss that one. But pretty decent night. The other night, Noah did not win the title. He came close.
Yeah, I saw his post on Twitter that he said he came up a little short.
Yep. He got smacked upside the head with a shoe.
Okay.
Anika's shoe, Chris Demise is the one who smacked him upside the head.
That'll do it.
Yep. And Nikki Victory beat Joshua.
Cool.
I mean, clean. Andrew Reed actually came out and was like talking trash, and she was on the top rope, like going to do a body press on Joshua. She turned around and did it on Andrew Reed when he was outside the ring.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Kimba body slammed DC.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then afterwards, I was talking to him, and man, he was like legit holding his back, and I was like, "How's it?" He's like, "Yeah," he said, "It hurts." So I'm like, I can imagine. But yeah, he got DC up and boom.
Man, that's impressive.
Yeah. And Randy was, our buddy Randy was sitting right beside me, and we were both. It was like, "What?" And but of course, on May 28th that's Memorial Day weekend, and that's when they're having the Revolution Rising.
Okay.
Yep. And we still need to get our sponsorship for it. Because my wife, she probably is going to do it with her travel agent. I don't know if we're going to do it for the podcast or not, because where our money got hit kind of tight because my car is still in the shop.
Still.
Oh, they got it running the other day, and then all of a sudden it kept stalling. So they're trying to figure out what's causing that. I'm like, well, that's on y'all, because that wasn't part of the issue when I brought it in.
Yeah, it wasn't doing that when.
Yeah, and you took the engine apart and you put it back together. So
yeah,
that's
so I need you to figure that out.
Yeah, and I need you to figure that quickly so we can sell the car. And that's the thing. I mean, that's all we need them to fix it and get it running so I can sell it.
Yeah.
So we're traded in actually, but anyway, so if anybody would ever like to get a hold of us, and email us about their car problems or any other kind of problems they're having, or if they'd like to advertise on the show, because we've actually had a couple of potential advertisers and nothing's happened yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to just email us at armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. Yeah. You can find us on Instagram also at Armchair Booking Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can find us on TikTok. I don't know why, because it's not like I've done a video in a couple months, but we are on TikTok at Armchair Booking Podcast. You can find us obviously on YouTube if you're watching it. If you're listening on audio, we're on that audio platform along with many others. We're on just about every kind of audio platform that you can find. If we're not on there, let us know. We get ourselves added. A lot of times you just do a Google search and just for Armchair Booking, and boom, there we are. And we are also, last but not least, obviously hosted by Blog Talk Radio. If you want to get a hold of Dwaylen, just tweet him at fat_daddy73. And yeah, I don't, my Twitter handle, I just don't even put it up there because mine's a little bit too political, well, and I don't even really post. All I do is just retweet on there anymore. So I don't even really do much. And actually a lot of stuff I don't retweet because I'm like, no. But I do more on my on the podcast Twitter than what I do my personal Twitter.
Right.
So and did I forget anything?
No, I think you got it.
Got it. All right. Cool. So all right. Triple H. H. Holmes. That's a different Triple H. That's a different Triple H.
Completely different Triple H.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Killer in another kind of way. But I don't know, when I was looking up stuff, I hit Triple H, and that was one of the first things that popped up, and I was like, all right, I got to use that. But yes, Paul Michael Levesque, born July 27th, 1969. So like I say, he was a senior when we were freshmen.
Yeah.
And the first time I remember seeing him, and this was before he was Triple H, the game, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, but it was after Terra Rising.
See, the first time I remember seeing him was Terra Rising, and I'm like, that is a terrible name, and it's not going to work. It's not going to last long.
And it didn't.
No. But he had the big 80s Ric Flair hair, and
oh yeah, nice long blonde.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of those things the 80s called, they want their hair back.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And when I first saw him, he was going by the name Jean-Paul Levesque.
Yes, he was a protege of William Regal. Well, it was Lord Stephen Regal in WCW, but yeah, he was a protege of Regal's.
And it was, I want to say they called it an international match, and it was him and Rob Van Dam, who was supposed to be from Germany.
Oh yeah.
On one of their pay-per-views,
well, yeah, because they were playing off of the Jean-Claude Van Damme with RVD. Yeah, the international match. It's like for every good thing WCW did, there was things like that. That was just like, Lord.
They had him speaking with a French accent. I don't care. And maybe he could have learned a little bit living in New Hampshire, kind of near Canada, but I don't know. the accents don't seem to carry over that border.
No.
But of course, he played like the blue blood kind of snobby
Yeah.
type. I mean, and he
Yeah.
definitely has the nose for it. I mean, that dude's nose has a nose. I mean, and then I saw him in that one match, and then later on, all of a sudden, I saw him in WWF playing kind of the same character.
Yeah. Just the outfit was different. He had more of the polo type, horse riding type gear than he did the uppity, the stuffy type gear that he with the robes and everything.
With the dicky and
with the dicky and the formal robes and everything.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, that's the same dude. Okay, he's not French because now he's speaking, with an American accent.
Yeah.
Trying to be the posh snob.
Yeah.
But I always liked his in-ring work even back then.
Yeah, it was always good. I mean, you could tell with some more work, he had that potential. You could see the potential there that he, maybe there's something here. It's like, I don't think anybody could have known he would have gotten as good as he was.
Yeah.
As he became. But yeah, the potential was always there. He always had good matches. And then, even, Sable was his valet like early on before she started, before they started pushing her and they had her more with Mark Marrow and things like that. She was one of his valets at the time. And then, but things kind of turned around for him in a way. The curtain call was honestly like the best thing that happened to him, even though at the time he was the one who took the punishment, because anybody who doesn't know what the curtain call is, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were leaving. They had a show in Madison Square Garden, and they had Scott Hall was wrestling Triple H, and Kevin Nash was wrestling Shawn Michaels in a cage. And at the end of the night, everybody climbed in the cage and hugged and said goodbye. Well, because Hall and Nash were leaving. Of course, that was a big no-no, because that was when kayfabe was still a thing and heavily enforced. And so you have Hall and Nash leaving. You have Shawn Michaels as the world champion. The only one left to punish was Triple H. So Triple H got punished. He lost his King of the Ring win, because the win that Austin got was supposed to be Triple H's.
Yep.
Triple H would go on and win it the next year, but he was supposed to win it in 96. He lost every match he was in for like 4 or 5 months in a row. Like, I don't think he won a match in that time period. He wasn't even on the main pay-per-view cards. He was always back then they called it the free-for-all before the pay-per-view. He lost a hog pin match to Henry Godwin
at the Rumble.
Yeah, they were in the free-for-all, and he lost the hog pin match.
And then he got buried by the Warrior.
Yeah, the Warrior no-sold the pedigree. Yeah, just no-sold the pedigree. And it's like, for a move that would become one of the most protective moves in wrestling.
Yeah.
At that time, he got buried. But in the end, I feel like it put more spotlight on him, because two guys were gone. Shawn was the world champion, but everybody was like, well, this is the guy that got punished. So let me keep an eye on him and see how he handles this. And I feel like he handled it very well. I feel like he took his lumps and came out the other side.
Wasn't that the Royal Rumble also where because he lost, I'm looking up as we're talking about it, because he lost that hog pin match, he had to be the first entry?
Yes. Yep. You're right. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever,
Nash was still there, but even though he was still on his way out.
Yeah.
Because I just remember during a match, Nash all of a sudden reached over, grabbed Triple H by one arm, and just frunk and just kind of just tossed him out of the ring like he was a sack of garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that curtain call, and it wouldn't have been as bad had there not been somebody in the audience
recording.
Yeah. You have a ghost in your room. I saw the door going.
You want to say hi real quick?
Hi, Avi.
Say hi. You want to see my lap? Do you know what we're talking about? What are we talking about? You don't know. All right, go see your sister.
Can you sit on the bed?
Huh? No, go in there. No, you can sit in. You can come in here when I'm done. Go get them and go in your room.
I just saw the door going.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, and I didn't see a body. I'm like, it's Abby.
Yep, gotta be Abby.
All right, you got your babies? Sorry, guys, she's got like six babies in my bed. So you got them? All right, girly, hurry up. I'm kind of in the middle of something here. I'm not going to spend the whole podcast arguing with you, girl. Go. Okay, hurry up. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll just talk. But anyway, but yeah, somebody was in the audience filming, and you got to think with this is before everybody had these.
Yeah, it was before smartphones, and it's like, so somebody was in there with
probably like one of the early digital cameras.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the footage went out, and Vince was not happy because yeah, they said they had cleared it through him, but they also kind of went overboard, I guess, with the four of them.
Yeah. Which I could see them just being like, oh, Vince will be fine with it. We'll just go ahead and do it. And it's like, he was not fine with it.
But no, he was not fine with it at all.
No.
In fact, he punched a squirrel when he found out. So,
and people were like, oh, they just killed the business and blah, blah, blah. Actually, they didn't. It's like, really, I feel like the curtain call was the catalyst for a lot of change in the way wrestling was presented and the way,
Well, Vince had already came out 7 years before that and said, by the way, it's a work, and he did it because of the insurance reasons.
Yeah.
So for them to maintain kayfabe, I mean, I get it to a certain point, but at the same time, most people know what's up.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, then again, there's independent, indie organizations who also, they still try to have their guys maintain, and guys and girls maintain kayfabe.
I just feel like in the in the digital age, it's just hard to really, with the rise of social media, it's just hard to keep kayfabe in place because information is so readily accessible that, even if you try to keep stuff under wraps, it still gets out.
Right. And, and even before social media, even before really almost like media, with the magazines,
right?
Because they were reporting on all the different organizations around the world, mostly around the U.S. and Canada, but you would see, they, I don't know why I remember one of those old magazines, Pampero, you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was the one who Randy Savage modeled himself there. Oh yeah, he looked like Brody, and and Savage modeled his speech after him. Yeah. He was one, he doesn't get enough play either, but there was an article and it was talking about the 3-match series he had against the Sheik, the original Sheik, flamethrower and everything.
Yeah.
And the manager of the Sheik was the Grand Wizard. Well, the Grand Wizard had another ego, like I think he called himself Abdullah Farouk, and in another territory, he managed Pampero Firpo, the same guy he's managing the Sheik against. And the magazine actually talked about that and said, "How can you manage it?" He's like, "Because when you're as talented as I am, you can, you know."
Yeah. Let me shut this door real quick.
Oh, you're fine.
She got all 6 of her dolls, and then her hands were too full to shut the door.
Well, I'm just glad you're wearing pants this time. But yeah, even today, and I'm not going to mention who it is, you know, but in one company, they're against each other. A couple other companies, they're a tag team.
Yeah.
You know, which I mean, nothing wrong with it. But I mean, it's like kayfabe really isn't that big of a thing, you know, anymore.
No.
I do agree, man. Yeah, we need to keep. You still need to have faces and heels. I mean, I'll always think that because it just adds to the intrigue of the matches.
Right.
But yeah, with Triple H, with him, you know, being part of the curtain call, yeah, and him taking the brunt of the punishment for it, and he did. I mean, he took it like a boss. I mean, he's like, you know what, you know. And Shawn at the time, of course, we're finding out years later, Shawn was not the greatest of people.
Yeah, Shawn was not in a, you know, they always say Shawn was not in a good place. I mean, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time, but during the mid-90s, Shawn was a spoiled brat who threw a fit if he didn't get his way. The problem was Shawn was phenomenal back then, and he knew it, and he knew he could get away with stuff because he was that good.
And he did. I mean, he would.
And he did, because that he was, for a while, he was Vince's meal ticket, you know. And Vince was not going to seriously reprimand Shawn Michaels for anything that would take him off the card for an extended period of time.
It's kind of like weird comparison, kind of like Emmett Smith. I don't know if you ever heard this story where Jimmy Johnson walked in, you know, they were supposed to be watching film, walks up to a lineman and who's asleep, and he said, you're out of here. You know, you need to wake, get your stuff, get out of here. Hey, Emmett, you need to wake up too. You know?
Yeah, because Emmett was a star and that was your money. So you weren't going to, I mean, the Cowboys were not going to keep Emmett Smith off the field.
No.
That just wasn't going to happen. I mean, unless he was hurt, he was playing.
Yep. Of course, I still liked it when they gave the ball to Moose. Anyway, but so Triple H, I mean, he came back from, like you said, he won the King of the Ring the next year. And then one of the things about the Attitude Era, which actually kind of helped him, was they decided, you know what, we're going to go with, you know, this look of just jacked up muscle type.
Yeah.
And see, he was a bodybuilder even when he was in high school.
Yep.
And you know, then he got himself hooked up with a bodybuilding woman, Joanie Laurer, also known as China.
Yeah. He interesting thing I read in the magazine a long time ago, that he said that his metabolism was so high that he had to eat, just to put on any kind of real weight, he had to eat just ridiculous amounts of protein.
Yeah.
To put on any mass, because he's like, anything he ate, he just burned it off so quick. He's like, especially working out, you know, he's like, I'd burn off everything. So I had to eat like so much protein to put on weight. But I mean, he did develop a great physique. Like, I'd say, especially in the year 2000, I'd probably say he had the best physique in wrestling.
And and it's not like he, you know, didn't have any, you know, muscle before.
Right.
But when he got just super jacked.
It's like when he started calling himself the Game, and he got away from the corporate ministry and all that stuff there.
Right.
You know, then it was like you could tell he was really coming into his own, especially like the night after SummerSlam '99 um when he beat Mick Foley for the world title. It's like you could tell he had finally, you know, arrived. He was scheduled to win that at SummerSlam '99, but rumor has it that Austin didn't think he was ready for it. So Austin pretty much, what they're saying is Austin pretty much refused to drop the title to him. That's why Mick Foley was added to the match, because Austin was willing to drop the title to Foley because Foley would be willing to do the job to Triple H the next night.
I just now read one of his classmates besides China was Perry Saturn.
I think I read that somewhere.
I mean, I probably read it before, but didn't even think about it. I mean, I was like, oh, how about that?
Yeah.
And he actually, a lot of people forget about this. He actually legitimately hurt somebody with the pedigree.
Oh yeah, he spiked that guy. I remember that.
A guy named Marty Garner. Marty Garner, as soon as I saw the name, I was like, that name sounds extremely familiar and not from wrestling. And I looked, and yeah, sure enough, he's from Moore County, North Carolina. He trained with the Hardys.
Oh, okay.
And the name Garner is actually a pretty common name in that area.
Okay.
And so, so my dad probably knows him. Actually, you know what? I think my dad does know him because I think I looked him up one day on Facebook.
Yeah, the original pedigree was like a high angle pile driver.
Yeah,
but it spiked that guy. Like that guy came down right on the top of his head.
And
so
wasn't that when they told him to let go of their arms because holding their arms back, I mean, they could not protect themselves.
Yeah, they told him to let go of the arms, and I think they told the guys to like lay out flat instead of doing the angle. And I think really, I mean, it's a lot safer that way. It looks better because I mean, he could hit the pedigree on just about anybody, but that high angled pile driver wasn't going to get hit. He couldn't hit everybody with it.
No. Now I always liked the move.
Yeah.
I
always liked the move, but I never thought it was for wrestling. I never thought it was really practical because it wasn't something he could apply to everybody. And especially during the mid 90s, it wasn't like how it is now where guys will have a variety of moves that they use to finish a match. Then it was one move, and it's like that had to be applied to everybody. So you've got a bigger, you got a 350-pound guy that you're trying to do this high angled pile driver to.
Yeah.
That's not going to work out well.
No. And I'm now Rollins, he's done the move. Somebody else, I thought in AEW actually.
Rollins did it. Cody has done it.
Okay, that's right. Yeah,
as a little jab. Yeah, he's done the pedigree, but nobody does it like Triple H does it.
And one of the things about Triple H, and I'll have to really find if there's some footage of me being wrong about this. I never saw him take a backdrop. Never mind. One time,
I have.
One time, and it was the the hog slop match or whatever it was because he got backdropped
he got backdropped into it. Yeah, I've seen him take a backdrop a few times. Not a ton, but I've seen him take it a few.
Yeah, because usually, if they go down for the backdrop, he comes up, he's got one hand on the back of their neck, and he comes up with the knee and just bam.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've always thought, it's like, okay, that's a cool counter for that.
Yeah, that Harley Race high knee. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a Harley Race thing.
Yep.
And the way Triple H did that, his knee drops always reminded me of Flair.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely wore his influences on his sleeve.
Oh yeah, you could definitely tell, especially like even that time during the Reign of Terror, where he had the mutton chops, like Harley. But yeah, you could tell Harley Race and Ric Flair were his influences.
And when you
you can't go wrong with either one. So,
and when you go through his, some of the stuff he did in WWE, because once he got to the WWF at the time, he never left.
Nope.
So I mean, and of course, granted, moving in with the boss's daughter and later marrying her and having 3 kids with her,
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't hurt your situation, but
no. But a lot of people will and us included. I mean, because I know we both given him flat. I made our opinions known about. Yeah, he's related. He married into the family, so yeah, he's an executive.
mm-hmm.
But I think he could have become an executive anyway.
Well, yeah, because he's got, and I have given him flack for marrying into that position, so to speak. But the man has an amazing mind for wrestling, and he has that old school mind for wrestling. That
Yeah.
where you could tell he grew up watching Mid South and Jim Crockett Promotions and Memphis and all the old school, because you look at what he did with NXT. NXT had that old school, it was like a perfect blend of modern day wrestling with that old school grimy twist to it.
Yeah. And
even turning the lights down in the arena
I'm a big fan of that.
Where it was the lighting was just on the ring and the performers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you may want to get like the first couple rows, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the audience out there playing with a beach ball.
Yeah.
And neither does Cesaro, because he'll go out there and he'll get that beach ball.
It just tears
it. But when they talk about his mind for the game, because he loves the business, and you're talking about like what he did with NXT, and one of the things I read this in Shawn Michaels' book, that when the Montreal Screwjob happened, and Shawn was talking about well, Brett doesn't want to lose the title and da da da. He's not in Canada. He'll sort of give it to you the next night. Triple H was the one who said that's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
He said he needs to do business just like everybody else.
Yep.
And because Triple H, I mean, he's another one. Yes, I will be critical of the fact that he has the longest matches on WrestleMania for quite a few years straight, even though
the longest matches, the most elaborate entrances, things like that. But I mean, you can't take away from when Triple H was on, he was on. I mean, there was times you could tell he was either injured or just there were some times during that reign of terror where he was just seemed like he was just kind of phoning it in. But
right.
But when he was on, he was one of the best.
Oh, absolutely. And the one goofy thing, because I remember my wife and I were watching it when it happened, was when he went through the drive-through chapel.
Oh my God. That I remember that, and it's like I thought that was goofy then, and now that I'm much older, it's like
you just want to slap him for doing it.
I just want to slap him for doing it because, dude, that's like that's just scuzzy behavior, dude.
Yeah.
It's like that's just nasty. It's like you can't be doing that.
And but I never questioned his ability in the ring, but things like that, I'm like, and the man is tough. You got to be tough to tear your quad and then say, yeah, put me in that, that Boston Crab move, the one that puts a lot of pressure on the quad. Yeah, put me in that.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was the next spot in the match. If you don't know what we're talking about, it was an episode of Raw in 2001. It was Triple H and Steve Austin were the tag team champions. They were defending against Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. Triple H planted his foot to break up a submission and just blew his quadricep muscle completely. He's
right off the bone.
Yeah, right off the bone. He said it felt like somebody had hit him with a hot bat, and he literally felt his quad roll up his leg. And but the next spot after that, they were outside the ring. The next spot was to do the Walls of Jericho on the table, and Triple H told Jericho to go ahead and do it. And Jericho's like, "You just tore your quad. We don't need to do that." And he's like, "We got to finish this."
Yeah.
There's, pretty much he was like, There's still business to be done. We got to finish this. So do the spot.
I'll admit it. I couldn't have done it. I'd have just sat there and cried.
I just laid there, curled on the ground, holding my leg, like,
No.
throw that X like the
Yeah.
referees do. Come get me.
Yeah. The referee don't throw the X. I'll be throwing it myself.
Exactly.
So, and not just once, he did it again later on.
He did it again in a match with him and Shawn Michaels against Edge and Randy Orton. New Year's Revolution. Can't remember the year, but yeah, he tore his quad in that match and finished that match too.
And I was just not thinking about the first time he did it. They played the part, of course, after the match is over and he's being helped out of the ring. And of course, Stephanie's behind him. I mean, and the look on her face was legitimate concern.
Yeah.
And they played that as part of the My Sacrifice video.
Yeah.
And when Creed, when they came out with that song. And and that was, they're like, yeah, don't do this one, because they showed that when they showed where Austin had that big old cut across his back. I don't remember how he did, but I just remember he hit something and just sliced his back open. And,
Triple H also wrestled The Rock at SummerSlam '98 in a ladder match with a blown out knee. And
it kept on going. And it takes a genetic heart ailment to take him out.
He said in the interview that he had with Stephen A. Smith that he still has a defibrillator.
Yeah, he has a defib. So he's like, I can't wrestle anymore. He said, not that he, so he can't be like, so there's, I'm not wrestling. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I'm going. Okay, but no, he can't. I mean,
no, he can't have like a one-off match or anything like that. He can't, his life would literally be on the line.
And he's going to the Hall of Fame next year.
He's got to. I meant to message you about that and be like, if Triple H is not the headliner for the Hall of Fame next year, then I don't know what they're doing, because that's the perfect opportunity to put him in, and he's no longer going to be an active competitor, because I'm not a fan of people going in the Hall of Fame that are still active.
Right.
I'm not a fan of people going into the Hall of Fame and then coming back years later and are active. It's like, once you go in the Hall of Fame, that's
you're done.
Cap. That's the cap on the career. That's it.
If you decide you want to come back after you're in the Hall of Fame, like give us the ring. Give us the ring. You get it back when you're done.
You get it back when you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. But out of all the things
what we're talking about is one of these, which I have a replica of.
See? Yeah, you know what's up. That's right, people.
Yep.
He's got the Hall of Fame ring. I've got the 10 pounds of gold.
Yep.
And it's probably a good thing I didn't go to Chillicothe this past weekend.
You just spent more money than you needed.
I would have got it. I'll probably, and I actually told Tawana that too. I was like, yeah, it's probably a good thing I didn't go, because I would have spent a lot more money than, because Rock and Roll Express was there, Sergeant Slaughter was there, Tony Atlas, Hacksaw Duggan, Rob Van Dam, because Riley Matthews, she got a picture of her and Rob Van Dam.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I've been talking to her about her coming back on the show. She said she would absolutely love to.
Awesome.
She beat Big Mama for that title that Big Mama just won last. Yeah, Riley beat her. Oh,
okay. I saw her with the belt, and I didn't realize that was the belt that Big Mama had.
Made her tap.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
One of Riley's moves is the octopus.
Okay.
Yeah, which is you don't really see it much outside of Japan. But when you see people hook it on there, I mean, it's like one of those. It just looks like like painful, but you can't move, and you might as well just tap, because you can't move anyway.
The only people that I've seen do it in the States, I've seen, of course, Tajiri, Tajiri did it, and I've seen Jonathan Gresham use it. Even his nickname is the Octopus.
And it looks like a really weird abdominal stretch, and kind of, except for you're hooking your opposite leg with theirs. Like I would hook my right leg inside your left leg, and then come over that hook the arm, but then you'd also have your left leg over their head.
Right.
And it was one of them games, if you ever saw the Tecmo wrestling game,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the best wrestling games on Nintendo, probably the best wrestling game on Nintendo, even better than that one where you always played Starman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just called Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
And I was always Starman just because, he go, but yeah, she beat Big Mama for that belt, so,
Cool.
but yeah, hopefully get Riley on here, again. So, because you missed the last one, and yeah, she's just a great person, and she's going places. I actually talked to some of the wrestlers in Mount Orb on Saturday, and of course she was up in Chillicothe winning, all the titles, and a couple people talked about her like, oh yeah, they're like, she is definitely going places.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, she has a good attitude, good work ethic. I mean, and she's developed her character. I mean, she's just so into it. So, and which is always a good thing. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll get her on the show here soon. So, because she, and she's only 19.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Triple H. And you think about it with Triple H, he's been part of the corporation. He's been part of Degeneration X. He's been part of the one with Flair and Orton.
Evolution. He's been the Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He stood in as part of the Shield when they were overseas because somebody was hurt.
Yeah, I can't remember. Was it Roman? Was Roman out? Because
you know what? I think that's when he had just announced he had but then again, the night he announced he had leukemia, they split them all up.
Yeah,
that was the exact same night. So maybe it was when Seth got hurt.
Might have been.
Yeah, because I mean, Seth, he talk about
blowing your knee out.
Yeah, it's like, but I think when he started doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and you can kind of tell the stuff that has his stamp on it because it is more of an old school feel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like you said, NXT. I mean, he develops them as wrestlers. He doesn't build a character; he builds wrestlers.
Yeah, and he lets them bring what they did on the Indies. He let them bring that to NXT because that's what got them noticed in the first place. He didn't change anything. Like Keith Lee comes in, he didn't change anything about Keith Lee or Adam Cole or Gargano or Ciampa or anybody that came in to NXT. He didn't change anything about them. He just helped kind of develop them to the WWE style, but you could still tell they were still allowed to be who they always were.
One question though, because I think we've actually talked about this before. The angle he had going on with Booker T.
Mm-hmm.
One of the promos, I'm pretty sure you know the promo I'm talking about, where he said some things about Booker T or to Booker T that I felt uncomfortable just listening to it.
Yes.
I was like,
talking about Booker T's nappy hair and said people like you, and it wasn't so much exactly what he said, but it was how he said it, and it was like, I feel like,
if he would have just said, because you come from the wrong side tracks, or your background, you're not as good as us who are like
exactly. If he just
white
brought
collar,
up, say, okay, you've done, everybody knows Booker T went to prison when he was younger,
right?
If they'd have just used that as the basis and been like, well, you don't deserve to be champion because you've been to prison and like you said, wrong side of the
it's
tracks,
something you could use against.
Exactly. But
as soon as you said the nappy hair, and I'm like,
the nappy hair, and then he's like, people like you don't deserve to be in the ring with people like me, and people like you don't, people like you will never be world champion. It's like, it had a very
it was
racial connotation to it. And it's like, I did not like that storyline at all. I also didn't like the fact that Booker T didn't win the title at WrestleMania 19 because the way the story was built, he should have won. That's what made sense. And Triple H took 23 seconds
to finally pin him.
After a pedigree.
And it buried Booker T
for
no reason.
Yeah, it took 3 more years before Booker T got his hands on a world title.
5 times.
Yeah, because I think that was 2003, and then it was 2006 before Booker T won the world heavyweight title. That's when he was King Booker. King Booker.
I still like the 5 times. 5 times. He could have won that thing 18 times. Yeah, and I still was 5 times. But I don't think that was Triple H writing that.
Because I'm sure it wasn't. But
it was like, why would they go down?
Why would you go down? Yeah. Why would you go down that path? And it's like, I guess I don't know, because if it was me, I'd been like, I'm not saying that. Can we rewrite this to where I don't come off as a racist? Because I mean, that's how it came off.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was not the worst promo I've ever heard. When it comes to stuff like that. Actually, I think Mr. Hughes, the stuff he was saying last month in Chillicothe was pretty bad. When I had to, my son, he was like, "What is that?" He had never heard that before. And so I was like, I'm not going to say what it was that he said. Yeah. But I'm like, it's a racial term. I said, don't you ever say that.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, because he was wondering why everybody was like, whoa! When he said it, it was like, then he said it again. And it was like, okay. No, the worst one that I've heard, and well, actually, besides Booker himself accidentally come across and calling Hulk Hogan a name, that one was just funny, to be honest.
That one still cracks me up. Every time I see it, it cracks me up.
Yeah,
especially the fact that Stevie Ray just went on with his part of the promo like it was nothing, and Booker T's like, "Oh my God, I've just."
Sherry was like this.
Yeah. Yeah, Sherry's like, it's okay. It's
all right. There's an old promo, and this is from probably around like 82 or so, maybe 83. Greg Valentine was going against Junkyard Dog. And I mean, it was, he called him like filthy, greasy black person. The way he did it is like, it's almost like he was trying to be racist, but he didn't know how. So it's like somebody must be writing this for him.
Yeah, it's like he was trying, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not racist, so it's like I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to say.
Right, and and oddly enough, you find some old pictures of Greg Valentine when he first started in the business. When he was known. He was aligned with the Fargos because they didn't want him. His dad didn't want him coming in using the Valentine name because, well, his dad was kind of a jerk, first of all. But he had him with the Fargos. I want to say he was calling himself Don Fargo. But they wore like wristbands with swastikas on them.
Oh,
this is in the early 70s. I mean, it was, and this was back when they had like Nazi exploitation films.
Yeah.
So it was kind of in that era. So weirdly enough, they were kind of cashing in on that, even though it was still in really, they were looking at, they're bad guys. It's like, yeah, but that's a little.
There's a bad guy and then there's a Nazi. There's two different things.
I was going to say, I don't even know if this would be worse or right along the same lines, but yeah, why don't you just put them in hoods and robes and have them walk in there? Just
I mean, it's equivalent to the same thing. I mean,
exactly. So if you're going for the ultimate bad guy, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I ever find that one, I'll have to send it to you because it may make you go, what?
I'm glad for the most part that wrestling has moved away from that. For the most part. You still find sometimes where it's like, no, but I'm glad that they moved away from the racial stuff. That's why some of the stuff, like even in Attitude Era, they would use that, and it's like, no.
That's when they had all the different racial factions.
Well, yeah, they had all the different racial factions. They had DX and blackface.
That yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I never found that funny, and it's like I knew people were like, "Oh my God, did you see that DX segment? It was hilarious." I'm like, it absolutely was not.
No. Uh, yeah. So,
Yeah, it's like no,
and actually Triple H was part of that too.
he was. He was
Um,
dressed up like The Rock.
yeah, he didn't have to like paint his face to dress up like The Rock.
No.
Anyway, all right. Before we start going down a whole bunch of roads, but if you see actually, Booker T actually, I mean, he's spoken very highly of Triple H.
Yeah.
And so has like Sasha and a lot of and
Yeah.
Bianca, because you can tell he's really
Yeah.
helped them out with their
Well,
careers.
even as newer stars like Nikita Lyons in NXT 2.0, she's like without Triple H, I would not be here. I would not have gotten signed without Triple H.
And and just to see the stuff that he's done, it makes it's actually kind of a shame that now we know why he stepped down when he did. I mean, it was actually legitimately for health reasons.
Yeah.
But to think this dude who you saw with the Farrah hair back in the day, he's now one of the premier players in the game, to the fact where he's actually gone to Washington D.C. to testify, about the industry. I mean, we're talking like suited up and everything.
Yep.
And
I mean, he's a 14-time world champion, 5-time Intercontinental champion, 2-time European champion. He's won tag titles with Austin and with Shawn Michaels. I mean, he's won the Royal Rumble. He's main evented WrestleMania. He's won the King of the Ring. He invented the Elimination Chamber.
He did?
Yeah, that was
really
him. Yeah.
Okay.
Storyline, it was Eric Bischoff.
Right.
In real life, Triple H wanted to do War Games. Vince didn't want to do anything WCW related, so Triple H came up with the Elimination Chamber concept.
Which I do like it. I mean,
I do too. And then he managed to bring back War Games in NXT. And just, I mean, there was a time like 2002 to like 2004 where Triple H dominated the world title scene. Everybody calls it the Reign of Terror. There were some good matches, but yeah, he had a stranglehold on that title when there were times he should have lost it. But I always felt like Triple H always carried himself like a world champion.
Yes.
The presentation was always there, whether he was, whether he was wrestling or whether it was just an interview segment or whatever. You could tell that he took that kind of pride in, carrying that responsibility of being the focal point at whatever given time.
Yeah, I mean, he took it seriously. I mean, he took ownership. And I had a thought, and it just went pew. I'm gonna say the same thing. He's been on some TV show. I remember he was on the show Pacific Blue. He was on there for like 10 seconds, and he played himself. But you didn't have to worry about a lot of scandals with him outside the ring.
No,
either. Now there was, the whole thing when he was cheating on China with Stephanie.
Yeah. You had that, but like you never had any substance abuse issues.
He's a teetotaler.
He didn't do that.
Yeah.
He's straight edge.
He was straight edge with that. I mean, he's an actual teetotaler. I mean, and which is rare. It's rare for humans, adult humans.
Well, when when the clique first formed and Triple H became part of that, Kevin Nash was like, Hunter's driving because, the rest of them partied, and Hunter really didn't party,
Right.
and he didn't do any kind of drugs or anything. So, he was like the sober one in the group all the time. And I don't think Nash really did a whole lot. As far as he probably drank, but I don't think he really did drugs. But the other three did their fair share.
They did all the drugs.
Yeah. So you never had that scandal with him as far as like drug use or anything like that. Even when he had the heart issue that ended up, ending his career, it wasn't one of those where people were like, oh my God, here's another wrestler who's, had a heart attack due to all the hard living that he had done throughout his career. You didn't have that with Triple H.
And he did. I'm pretty sure you saw it on the interview. In fact, I'm reading about it right now. He said that, of course, like athletes just have enlarged hearts a lot of times because, they're constantly working out.
Yep.
Your heart is a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And so
the more you work it, the bigger it gets. Yep.
And I was trying to read, I'm going to have to go back and watch that interview again because he was talking about there's certain levels of something. And I was telling it to Randy, because Randy's actually an EMT. And so he understands a lot of that terminology, whereas I don't. I just sit there kind of like, duh. But I told him, I said, yeah, Triple H said his levels were at 60, then it was dropped, and it was all the way down to 12, and he basically almost died. And Randy's like, do what? And he knew exactly as soon as I said, yeah, these certain levels, and Randy knew exactly what I was talking about. I'm like, okay, good, because I don't want to try to explain this again.
Right.
But yeah, I have a defibrillator in my chest, which probably not a good idea for me to get zapped on live TV. And so he's actually playing it smart too. He's not living under any kind of a pipe dream where he's going to get back in the ring despite his ailment with his heart.
Yeah.
If you look, Jerry Lawler, I know Jerry Lawler, he's wrestled since his heart attack, but it's very sparingly.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a defib.
Right. But yeah, like you were saying, like, he doesn't have these grand illusions about returning to the ring one day and things like that. And that's how I feel about people who get these legitimate neck injuries like Edge. I just feel like it's a risk. Like Edge, I know Daniel Bryan was cleared. He has been phenomenal since he's come back. I just feel like it's still a risk. Sting is still a risk. Sting is at risk. He had a serious neck injury. It's what ended his WWE career.
Hate that, by the way. The buckle bomb.
Yeah. Paige hasn't come back yet. People have been on her on Twitter about, well, Daniel Bryan and Edge have made it back. And she's like, and everybody's neck issue is different. And so she's like, talking to the doctors, I'm not cleared to compete. Maybe one day, but not now. But I just don't. I think if you get that kind of injury, or it's like, just call it a career and do something else.
Yeah. Be like Chris Nowitzki with the concussions.
Yep.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah, like, I'm done.
Yeah, of course. He got his bachelor's in like neuroscience.
Yep.
From Harvard. So
yeah.
And then he's the one who really pushed for that study about CTE and when wrestling, and he's one who pushed for Chris Benoit's brain,
to be studied. Yeah.
He studied. And but yeah, if you get hurt, and Triple H, he's like, yeah, a torn quad, yeah, I'll be back. Oh,
yeah.
Blown knee,
I'll be back. A defibrillator in my chest, I'll call it a day.
Yep. Sold.
Yeah. That's a wrap. Nope. Sorry. Can't be wrestling no more.
Yeah. And I think it also said, I know it seems, people look at wrestling and, we know just because we've been wrestling fans for, 40 some odd years.
Yeah.
Between us, we got almost 100 years of wrestling fandom. Think about that. We'll just say it. We'll just leave it at 90.
Yeah.
And so we know people they look down on wrestling. And, so when we see a wrestler who is kind of crossed over into doing other things, like The Rock, like Cena, like who are some of the other ones, Jericho, doing the stuff with Fozzy.
Yeah.
But then you have Triple H, who even though he wasn't necessarily performing with them, he became really good friends with Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yes. Yep. As the three, well, counting the Evolution theme songs, Triple H has got three different theme songs performed by Motorhead. My favorite wrestling theme song of all time is "The Game" by Motorhead, and they've played him to the ring twice at WrestleMania. They performed "The King of Kings." They performed the Evolution song. I mean, that was they had a really good friendship.
Yeah, and to the fact where when Lemmy died, Triple H actually spoke at his funeral.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when him, The Rock, Big Show, and Foley were on Saturday Night Live the night before their WrestleMania, AC/DC was on.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, you saw Angus Young was up on Triple H's shoulders.
Yeah.
So I've always liked that just because, I'm me being predominantly a metalhead. I mean, you know that. I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, to me, I'm like, yeah, horns up, so. And I'm also reading, he's a big friend. He's friends with Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah.
Nah, can't win them all.
So, he's a supporter of the English football team West Ham United. Okay, I mean, I support Norwich, which I'm pretty sure Paige also supports Norwich because that's where she's from. The Norwich City Football Club, on the ball city. There you go. Anyway, but so I like that when somebody, and he's obviously he crossed into politics because of his position as an executive, a legitimate executive.
Yeah.
In the company. And so, we've talked about, okay, some people can't stand Triple H. I'm like, I get the criticism. I also threw criticism for some of his actions when they've been due. At least I felt they were due, and you felt they were due. We both, felt the same way. But I'd say the contributions that he has given to the wrestling world, and it didn't start from the word go. I mean, he was just this goofy looking dude.
Yeah.
Down in WCW, who was playing part of the international match.
Yeah.
And to look at that, and then he was still, he had muscle, but I mean, he was still just skinny looking dude who Kevin Nash just chucked out of the ring like he was nothing. To go from that to being, probably the third or fourth most powerful person in the industry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's saying a lot.
And I mean, look at the matches and people are always like, and I've even said this in the past, that especially during the Attitude Era, that Triple H wasn't the guy, but he was always in the ring with one of the guys. But looking back on his career that I've gotten older, in hindsight, Triple H was one of the pillars of the Attitude Era. Triple H was one of the reasons that they were so successful. I mean, you have Austin, you've got Rock, you've had Triple H, you had Mick Foley, you had The Undertaker. I mean, the roster was stacked with stars, but Triple H was right up there as one of the main reasons that they were so successful. And yes, there are a lot of things he deserves criticism about. I will be the first one to say that. But he has had a Hall of Fame worthy career. Some of the matches that he has been involved in, the street fight with Mick Foley at Royal Rumble 2000.
Was that the Cactus Jack one?
Yes, that was when Foley was Cactus. Even the build up to that, Triple H is selling on that. Like when Mankind was like, told him he was right. You're not.
There's somebody else that wants to come.
Yeah, and rips his shirt open.
Jack, and he's coming to
Triple
kick
H
your
looks like Triple H looks like he saw a ghost. The Hell in a Cell match he had with Cactus Jack the next month at No Way Out. Like the triple threat match he had with Benoit and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 20. The Hell in a Cell match he had with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 28. He's had a catalog of great matches. He's had some really good matches. I mean, there's been some duds, but I mean, Everybody has them. Even Flair had some dud matches during his career, but I mean, he's still got some matches that are fondly looked on to this day. I mean, that match with Foley from Royal Rumble was 22 years ago, and it's still one of the best street fights you'll see.
And when he brought up the sledgehammer, and one of the things I thought was kind of funny when Bruce Pritchard's actually talking about this, him using the sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
He said, now some of the sledgehammers, he said, were real sledgehammers. The
Mm-hmm.
real, 10-pound trying to swing that thing
Yeah.
sledgehammer. And he said, now those, he said that Hunter would protect his opponent. I mean, real bad, because that's why he always had his hand over
the head. Yeah.
And so he wasn't hurting them. They
Yeah.
may have felt a little bit. He said now sometimes he'd get like a fake sledgehammer,
Mm-hmm.
and those he was swinging it, about as hard as he could. He was actually legitimately hurting people with the fake one. They had to tell him, like, dude, back off.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, it's not gonna hurt. And yeah, and that's the one he was actually hurting people. So I always thought that was just kind of funny. Oh, and wow. And speaking of funny, didn't mention this earlier. Didn't mention the other podcast we've got to give a shout out to. Obviously, TNC Sports Talk.
Yep.
Jay and Trey. They had Noah Gabriel on there the other day, like I mentioned. Noah got the shirt. Another great show they have with him. And Justin and I, we've actually talked about doing a collaboration. Like maybe we could all, we could be broadcasting, they could be broadcasting on the same time, or they'd be broadcasting live, but we would be recording them on our show, so we could also put it out.
Okay.
They've talked about another kind of a collaboration, maybe doing at one of the events.
Mm-hmm.
Which they would have to they'd have to clear it through Roger first.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it is still his show.
Yeah.
But also Ted the Hillbilly Hill at the Hill Truth.
Absolutely.
Yep. He had another podcast on, and Beauty and the Beard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to have to go check them out. And the guy, it's a man and woman. The guy is from Alabama, and the woman, I want to say she is either from Wales or she's from the West Country in England.
Okay.
Which is right near Wales. Her accent, I was like, but it sounds like a very interesting part, because they do strictly AEW and Ring of Honor.
Okay.
So but he had them on there, so we need to get on his as well. And
yeah,
he said he'd love to have us on, and I know we'd love to have him on too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, that dude, I mean, he's just seriously dropping some knowledge. Award winning, accolades, trending number one on MySpace and in Antarctica.
Yep.
I mean,
can't beat it.
Can't beat it, and just an all around great guy, and the accent makes me feel like I'm at home. So, but yeah, and so if you have not started listening to him, go listen to him, and listen to True Crime Cast, listen to the Bless Their Hearts. They're not wrestling, but at the same time, they're big supporters of wrestling. They've been on Jericho's. Speaking of Jericho, listen to his latest podcast with Abdullah the Butcher.
Okay.
You know how we talked about Jimmy Snuka was illiterate?
Mm-hmm.
So is Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, he can't read or write.
Yeah, beyond he dropped out of school, in second grade.
Yeah.
And I did not know that until I was listening to this. And his illiteracy is what has caused him to be the subject, actually the losing end of a lawsuit.
Really?
Yeah, he was sued by a guy who claims that Abby gave him Hep C.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember reading about that lawsuit. Yeah.
Yep. He said Abby cut him, and he had his own blood, and then he got Hep C. And then some doctors have actually come out and said you cannot catch Hep C like that.
Mm-mm.
It has to be pretty much injected directly into you. That's why, like, people who share needles and things like that.
Right.
But because there was one of the people on Jericho's podcast talking about, said he had the same thing. Him and Abby cut each other. He got himself tested, and he came up negative.
Mm-hmm.
But just to hear his story, he was talking about, how he's Canadian, and how he didn't. You talk about somebody, kind of like Nikita wouldn't speak English.
Yeah.
He was the same way. Even like trying through airports to find like an airport manager, basically. Somebody pulled him aside and said, "Look, I know your name is Larry Shreve." He said, "I get it. It's part of the gimmick." He said, "If you want to just come through here, so you don't have to basically act like this, that's fine." He said, "But he said, I get why you do it." He said, "But please, just come through here,
Yeah.
and we'll take care of
Right.
you." But yeah, so I mean, so they have a GoFundMe set up to actually kind of help him because he's lost like just about everything, and he's like 82 years old.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, so yeah, definitely go check out Jericho. Just check out Jericho's podcast anyway.
Yeah.
Because he also has on the Friday episodes, he has the Duff McKagan joke of the week, and it's always a corny dad joke. In this past one was Chris Rock didn't know why Will Smith was coming up on stage, and then it hit him. Tell me that's not like a corny dad joke.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, speaking of Triple H, maybe one day we can have him on the podcast.
Maybe. You never know.
It may cost us
cool.
it may cost us $1,000.
Yeah, but I mean that would be cool.
Yep. So, yeah, maybe one day we get some other people. There are some names. Like I said, now that work is, I say work is slowed down, and then all of a sudden I'm pulling an 11-hour day today, and I'll be working again as soon as I get off over here. And for all those listening on the audio podcast, hopefully I'm able to get it to work because we have music, and
Yeah.
I want to take that same music and actually create another video because I love what Justin did for us, but it's not ours necessarily.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did.
He put a lot of effort into it. But it's just kind of trying to change things up a little bit. So. But is there anything else that we have not announced or given shout outs to?
No, I don't think so. Trying to think what's happening in wrestling. I know this week on AEW TV over Dynamite on Wednesday and Rampage on Friday, every title will be defended. The world title is going to be defended on Rampage, the Texas Death Match. Adam Page and Adam Cole.
I bet Adam wins.
Yeah. Either way, it's a safe. See, that's always either way. It's a safe bet because either way, Adam's winning.
But Adam's also losing.
That's true. Yep.
So, I know one thing we didn't mention it last week because we were both like in shock. Not really, but yes, we were. Tammy Sitch.
Oh yeah.
She might be going to jail.
Well, she might be. They're waiting on the toxicology report to come back to see exactly what was in her system because they're pretty sure she was intoxicated because she ran into someone in her car. She drove into someone and that person ended up dying.
Which, at the very least, it sounds like vehicular manslaughter if it's determined to be her fault. But she also was driving on a suspended license.
Yes.
So that's almost like a default. It's your fault.
Yeah, it will. In most states, it is. It's like doesn't matter what the circumstance. The car could fall out of the sky, but it's like you were driving on a suspended license, so it's on you.
Yep.
Because you shouldn't have been on the road in the first place. And
and like I said, I mean back in around 95, 96, I mean, and I think I said this in the the text that I sent to you when you sent me the news about it. I said she was just beautiful.
Yeah.
But apparently on the inside, she's just a hot mess.
Yeah, and now I feel like what's on the inside has come out over the years, and it's just, I mean, stays in trouble, whether it's assault on her ex or stalking her ex or drug charges, and just I hope she gets the help she needs, but I'm afraid this is the straw that broke the camel's back. This is, I mean, because now somebody's life is gone directly because of her actions.
And think about this. You've been the co-host for about 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third time we've talked about her getting in trouble.
Yep.
In 10 months. I mean,
time.
that's
yeah.
I mean, that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't want to write her off. I don't want to write anybody off.
I don't either, but, and I mean, maybe this would be, I know people are going to be like, how is doing time going to be a good thing? Maybe this will save her life because she's snowballing down this slope that she can't come back from. And if something's not done, she's going to be one of those wrestling casualties.
Yeah. And she just got elected to the Hall of Fame, what, 3 years ago? Something like that. I mean, it is really sad. I mean,
it is sad. It's really sad. And at the same time, we know how PR driven WWE is. So they're going to distance themselves as far away as they can.
Yeah. And they may go, yeah, you know that ring?
Yeah. You know that ring you got?
Yeah.
We might need that back.
Yeah. Yeah. Hogan, yeah, we gave his back. Still don't get that. But yeah.
I don't either. But we
like I said,
we won't go down that road.
So, maybe one day, we'll have like that episode where we just talk about everything like that.
We could have.
I mean, but probably not today.
No, not today.
So, but yeah, Tammy, not that you're listening, but somebody else might be listening. Pass it on to you. Please get help. I mean, we hope for the best for you.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, a former guest of ours, Buff Bagwell, he's actually said he's for. He said that could have easily been me.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. If you don't follow Buff Bagwell's Twitter, you need to. It's great.
Yep. And he also has his YouTube thing that he does. Rebuilding Buff.
Yes.
He's serious about getting clean and taking care of himself. And of course, if he's in the DDP house, he has to be serious because Diamond Dallas Page ain't gonna let him be anything but serious.
Nope.
And he went into the house, and then it was just a week later, he had an interview with these two idiots. I don't remember who they were, but and then one of the idiots got to meet him. I still need to send you your picture, by the way. So hopefully you'll be able to do that this at least coming weekend. It's a matter of being able to get over there because right after that, all of a sudden I was like, I'm still at work. It's 9:00 at night. Yep, and I'm still at work.
I'm still at work.
But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get your picture out to you soon. It's sitting, it still says, to Dwaylen, of course, later on you see it marked out. It says Steve.
It said Steve on it.
But yeah, I'll make sure you get that picture. So,
all right.
But yeah, so he went through that. He went to DDP's house, had the interview. He's still doing appearances, and then Scott Hall passed away. All that happened all at the same time. So so obviously, we're pulling for him to make it. Because I even replied, to Conrad Thompson's thing. He said he's pulling for Buff, and I was like, you know what? I said we had a great interview with him. I mean, paraphrasing. I said, he's a stand-up dude. We had a good time. So I'm definitely pulling for him too. So. And that's anybody, if you're struggling with any kind of personal struggles like that, whether it be addiction or just depression, anything like that, we're going to be pulling for you to come through. So,
absolutely.
Yep. So, I cannot think of anything else.
I can't either.
All right, cool. I think then we have come to the end of our program.
All right.
But, all right, dude, until we meet again on Thursday and we figure out what we're going to be talking about, God bless.
God bless.